Hey friend, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we are going to continue our in-depth Bible study of the book of Genesis, and today we are going to be doing chapter 19. So grab your Bibles and I'll cue the intro. So in the previous episode and in the previous chapter, we now learned and read about, this is now chapter 18, and this is where first it carried on with Isaac's birth that was promised and carrying on with that, but then starting the story of Sodom. And so we read about Abraham and where he was interceding on Sodom's behalf, and basically this negotiation that was going on between Abraham and God. And so God, after appearing to Isaac and promising to Abraham that Isaac will be born from Abraham and Sarah, he then said, after as they were leaving, to say he's now going to go down to Sodom to decide the fate of Sodom. And because there was so much sin happening, and so he felt, or God knew that he would need to destroy it because it's out of hand. And so Abraham was interceding on Sodom's behalf and said, what about if there's 50 righteous people in Sodom? Will you destroy Sodom if there are 50 righteous people? And then God said, okay, no, he won't. And then they had this negotiation that Abraham was like, what about if it's 45? What about if it's 25? Ultimately going down to 10. Abraham saying, okay, God, what about if there are 10 righteous people in Sodom? Will you destroy it? If there's 10 righteous people in Sodom. And then God said, no. If there are 10 righteous people in Sodom, he will not destroy Sodom. So we are now going to carry on reading from there. And this is now in chapter 19. And this is now God rescuing Lot. The two angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed himself with his face to the earth and said, my lords, please turn aside to your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet. Then you may rise up early and go on your way. They said, no, we will spend the night in the town square. But he pressed them strongly, so they turned aside to him and entered his house. And he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. But before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both young and old, all the people to the last man, surrounded the house, and they called to Lot, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, that we may know them. Lot went out to the men at the entrance, shut the door after him, and said, I beg you, my brothers, do not act wickedly. Behold, I have 2 daughters who have not known any man. Let me bring them out to you, and do to them as you please. Only do nothing to these men, for they have come under the shelter of my roof. But they said, stand back. And they said, this fellow come to sojourn, and he has become the judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them. Then they pressed hard against the man Lot, and drew near to break the door down. But the men reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house with them, and shut the door. And they struck with blindness the men who were at the entrance of the house, both small and great, so that they wore themselves out groping for the door. Then the men said to Lot, have you anyone else here, sons-in-law, sons, daughters, or anyone you have in the city? Bring them out of this place, for we are about to destroy this place, because the outcry against its people has become great before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and said to his sons-in-law, who were to marry his daughters, up, get out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city. But he seemed to his sons-in-law to be jesting. As morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be swept away in the punishment of the city. But he lingered. So the men seized him and his wife and his 2 daughters by the hand, the Lord being merciful to him, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. And as they brought them out, one said, "Escape for your life. Do not look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the hills, lest you be swept away." And Lot said to them, "Oh no, my lords, behold, your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have shown me great kindness in saving my life. But I cannot escape to the hills, lest a disaster overtake me and I die. Behold, this city is near enough to flee to it, and it is a little one. Let me escape there. Is it not a little one? And my life will be saved?" He said to him, "Behold, I grant you the favor also that I will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken. Escape there quickly, for I can do nothing till you arrive there." Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun had risen on the earth when Lot came to Zoar. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire from the Lord out of heaven, and he overthrew those cities and all the valley and all the inhabitants of the city and what grew on the ground. But Lot's wife behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before the Lord, and he looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the valley. And he looked, and behold, the smoke of the land went up like the smoke of a furnace. So it was that, when God destroyed the cities of the valley, God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot has lived. Now Lot went up out of Zoar and lived in the hills with his 2 daughters, for he was afraid to live in Zoar. So he lived in a cave with his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come in to us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve offspring from our father." So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father. He did not know when she lay down or when she arose. And the next day the firstborn said to the younger, "Behold, I lay last night with my father. Let us make him drink wine tonight also. Then you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve offspring from our father." So they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. The firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. The younger also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ami. He is the father of the Ammonites to this day. So we read in chapter 19 about the 2 angels that went to Sodom and went to Lot's house and found refuge by them. When the people found out that there were people with Lot, the townspeople then went to Lot's house and they demanded to know, who are these people? We need to see them. We need to know who they are. And if you're not going to let us see them or for us to see who they are and basically most likely fight with them to get them out of the city, then they would fight with Lot also. So Lot then said, "Okay, just please, I promise to keep my guests safe. Please, we just leave them alone. You can even have my daughters. They're young. They're young. You can have them. You know, they don't belong to anyone yet. Although he did have promised sons-in-laws for them, potential son-in-laws who were with them in the house. But he said, you know, they're not married yet. You guys can choose the 2 girls that I have." So he literally offered his 2 girls just to keep the 2 angels safe. Now, I love how basically what happened was that they approached him. It got a bit violent on the outside, so much so that they pushed Lot and broke the door and pushed the door out to get inside the house. And that's when the two angels grabbed Lot inside the house, pulling him back in for safety. And what then happened was that the Lord then struck their eyes, so the eyes on the outside who went to attack them basically, with blindness, and so they couldn't see, and that's why they were reaching out to the door, because they couldn't see. So in that moment they were blinded, and they could not see, or they were groping trying to find the door. And that's when the angels were like, now's the time. Just grab your wife, grab your daughters, and we need to go. And it's also interesting for us to read where they speak about the angels are now telling them, visiting them, saying, we need to leave. The city is going to be destroyed. We need to leave. And they lingered. We read 2 times that they took their time. Even the son-in-laws, the potential son-in-laws, they all just lingered. Nothing much happened. And so the angels, this is now the next morning already, and the angels were like, we are going now. And then where Lot is now basically in this negotiation again, saying, okay, because they said that they have to escape to the hills, and Lot is like, okay, can we not just escape instead of just the open fields or this open places? What about if we go to this town? It's a small town. Will you destroy this small town also? Is this going to be safe? Can we go there? Or are you also going to destroy the small town outside of Sodom? And so they said, no, it's fine. You can go there. And then they called that small town Zoar. But then, because they were not supposed to look back as they went for safety, Lot's wife decided to disobey and look back, and she then turned into a pillar of salt. Now then we also read about the disturbing story of Lot's daughters. Now Lot then was so fearful to know that this is what's happened, that the city has been destroyed. This is the powers that the angels have, and I'm sure that he just went maybe a bit, he wasn't thinking straight, decided to find refuge instead of Zoar, to then go to a cave, lived in a cave with his 2 daughters, because his wife passed away now. Obviously I'm assuming his time has passed at this point. Staying in this cave with his 2 daughters, and his 2 daughters decide, wow, like we need to carry on with the bloodline. Like we need to we don't have any husbands. That, because we're staying isolated in this cave with our dad or our father, let's make him drunk so that he could sleep with us, so that we can conceive and have children, so we can carry on with the bloodline. And so they did that. They made them drunk 2 nights in a row so that each daughter could take a turn to lay with him. And they both conceived children. And we hear or read that then started the tribe of the Moabites as well as the Ammonites. So let me know what God revealed to you when you read chapter 19. I'd love to hear. But that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. I pray that God will continue to bless you. Bye.